Brownie.
It's a podcast bonus.
Chris Scott, former teammate of Brownie's, premiership player and coach, and the best-looking man in the AFL. Here's Chris.
Welcome to the show, Chris Scott. Full disclosure, we're all a little bit nervous to be talking to you. Is this a normal reaction for common folk when they meet you?
Well, I hope not.
We just lost him.
So.
He sounds like Mr. Doobie.
Chris, can you hear us?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, well, you can hear us perfectly.
We can't say the same about you, Chris. Obviously, you are gearing up for a pretty big weekend. I've just read here that you're out of contract as the senior coach of Geelong at the end of the year. Is this like a huge contract renegotiation? Is everything sort of pinned on what happens on Saturday?
No, I hope not. No, I think I'm about 12 years in, so I suspect I'm much closer to the end than the start. So, but this would be, absolutely a highlight of my time at Geelong in particular, given we had a really good first year when I arrived, and it's really been a sort of decade-long rebuild to get to this point again. So that's something that we all should be proud of.
Chris, two questions from me. One is, can you seriously answer this question about... So for the last 12 years, you've been in the finals 10 times with you in charge, which is amazing. If you could just pinpoint one thing that you've done throughout those 12 years to make your team so successful, and also, would you do me the honour or promise me that if you win the premiership and you're up on the dais on Saturday afternoon, that you thank the supporters and the players and the sponsors, and then you remind everyone that you're out of contract?
I'll make sure I think of myself at some point hanging. No, that's highly unlikely. But the first part, there are so many parts to go into it, but if you held me down and said, just choose one thing, I think it's the environment that we've created here at Geelong, and that's not me. I had to fit into that environment when I first arrived, and it's just a good place to be around. And we obviously value competitors, but we also value people having a good life as well. It's not just we don't want to bring people in that make footy, their sole focus in life. We like to be a bit more balanced than that, and I think that helps us perform.
Well, I did read that Jeremy Cameron's been fully renovating his house this year, Scotty.
He's doing it in the background of this impacting.
It sounds like. Mate, do the boys spend any time at the footy club?
It's I suspect what you can hear in the background. I'm actually out on the ground here at Geelong, and they're feverishly working away trying to finish this stand for next year. But, yeah, Jez has been a little bit the same. And now you will not get a more low-key character than Jez. And apparently before he got here, he couldn't hammer a nail, and now he's bought a farm and renovating a house. So he has changed.
Next up the block.
Absolutely. Now, you've got a big job. Obviously, you are the coach. I think you've got main training session today. Do you think ahead, though? Do you think ahead till about 2 p.m. on Saturday, the big speech? Have you been in front of the mirror, mate? Have you been reading books? Have you put any thoughts into your pre-game speech?
Now, I don't know whether I should confess this or not, Brownie, but I still remember driving over to Westgate on the way to the MCG for my first game as Geelong coach in 2011, and I hadn't really thought that much about what I was going to say, because I tend to be a bit better when I just sort of feel the moment and ad-lib it, and I've never changed it. Like even for grand finals, prelim finals, but like no formal work really goes into it. And I guess it's sort of what we're trying to do with our players as well. It's kind of like, if you don't know what to do in the moment, given how much time we put into it, then your preparation the rest of the time probably hasn't been good enough. So I think it'll be the same. I think I'll just sort of turn up there and go with what I feel.
Maybe just say to the boys, I want to remind you that I'm out of contract after this game.
I've got an unrelated football question. Are we finished with our footy questions? Because I don't want to ruin it all.
I got one more footy one real quick.
Okay, go.
Chris Scott, who did Lethal love the most in the Dynasty team?
Yeah.
Well, I suspect that's a loaded question. He did love Brownie. He really did. But I think it's hard to go past Michael Voss. It wasn't Acker. and it might have been brownies.
It was an acca.
Thank you.
No, it wasn't accurate.
Go on, Swanee.
It would have been accurate. My question for you, Chris Scott, is you are very famously part of a twin. You're one of a pair of football twins. And I've often wondered, growing up and even to this day, do you guys fight around the family kitchen table at Christmas about who's the best looking?
No, we did fight a bit growing up. Haven't had a fight, even an argument for a long, long time. But even when we did, it certainly wouldn't have been about our looks, no.
Well, that's a missed opportunity.
Chris Scott, what are you watching at the moment? Are you binge watching anything?
I am actually. I'm watching Industry on. Is that on Binge? Yeah.
Industry. What's that
Oh,
about?
I've heard that's good, yeah.
Yeah, it's good. A little full on, but that's okay. I can handle it.
Sure, Robbo and Jared asked you that on 360. I apologise if I'm stepping on their questions.
Give it up for Geelong Coach.
Good luck, mate.
Chris Scott, thank you so much for giving us your time. We are here, the public crowd, thanks to Underworks.
Chrissie, Sam and Brownie, Ripper Show will be back tomorrow. Chrissie, Sam and Brownie, unless it's a weekend.
Over 100.